Welcome back to the Time for Heroes podcast. Welcome back to the podcast. This week, my guest is Andy Miller of Dodgy. We're going to go through Andy's career right from the start. So, as we do with all the podcasts, Andy, what I'd like for you firstly is, what was your early life like growing up? What was it like for a young Andy Miller?
Well, yeah, I've never had that question before. Never gone about that far. But early life, yeah, with my 4 sisters and 2 brothers. So we had quite a big family. All older sisters, and younger boys underneath the sisters. I'm the middle brother, so second youngest. So there's a big old family running about, playing a garden in Norfolk, West London, for many years. Learning to fight with my brothers, seeing some new young lads coming into our territory in the area, and
Right.
we go and check them out, and there'd be some sort of ruckus in the field up the road, but nothing too harsh. We weren't bottling windows or anything like that. I don't think that's it. Something in a while.
The
But
postcode was
about fooling around for a long time. We did up until probably, I think my brother still had his teddy bear when he was about 13, 14 still. So we think I was to get to grow up properly. But I mean, one by one, my sisters started moving out and that. And it just ended up on my parents left. They split up. My mum left my dad when I was about 10, I think. So that was a bit of a tumultuous time. I wasn't really recognizing it until maybe in later life, about being a bit distracted at school, and wanting to find something that was into. I'd be just imaginative mind, wanting to find some groove, and it wasn't until about 14, 15. I mean, I was started listening to music. Okay, so my other sisters, obviously, they were like, the eldest sister was in Pink Floyd, David Bowie and that. And every morning before they were going to school, the radio would be on, the countdown, the charts were going on, and the house was full of music. But I'd see these albums around, so one of the first things I was just getting into David Gilmour. His style of playing, for some reason, I didn't even know what a guitar was between a guitar and a bass guitar. I didn't know what I was. It's a bit of a 50-50. I wanted the guitar, but I could have come home with a bass guitar and realised it's a bass guitar. I know so little about the instrument then. Luckily, I got one, but I got one for Christmas. I did get one for Christmas where it was a pretty badly made guitar. I could fit my fingers between the fretboards and the string.
right.
Could fit. Yeah, the action was so high. I think it was really difficult to play. But probably the best thing to do is like running in sand when you're training, So
Yeah.
got the calluses all done up, pretty early on. We were playing that sort of stuff, and it actually Christmas morning, it took me half a day to even realise that to press the strings down onto the fretboards.
Yeah.
And this is day one of learning. I was upstairs, and I was euphoric when I suddenly felt that, like pressed it down and played a note. Oh my god! Because I was just playing it open like that. I pressed down a note, and I ran downstairs, and I was like, "Boys, look at this!" Just the one note. Right, they're thoroughly unimpressed. But for me, it was a game changer.
Obviously, you mentioned your sisters then, the Pink
Yeah.
Floyd. What other influences was there?
Well, I only went to this. Well, when me, of course, my older brother was coming back from starting work, and he'd got with a friend who's like they were swapping albums with each other. So the next thing would have come along would have been Deep Purple. We'll come home with a Deep Purple record, and I'd be into that for quite a while. But then the next one, more impactfully, was coming home with Jimi Hendrix Isle of Wight record. That's changed it for me. I have that boom. I'm like, what the fuck is this? And and then just me just trying to learn by ear, really, just like that. And it was way above me, Hendrix was, so I fell into the grasp of Led Zeppelin instead. So it was like Led Zeppelin, Jimi Hendrix. Again, a lot of stuff comes from my brother. My older brother would come home with records. I wouldn't really be going and buy. I'll be going and buy records and CDs. We'll do that. Eventually, as going through our teens. It was all cassettes and stuff like that back then. So walking around with a Walkman with Odd Not Gun Flakes, the small faces going around. So I'm walking up to the shops to buy my brothers some Birkin crisps and stuff. So so we'd be that kind of gradual eyes opening. A very it's still quite proggy and rocky part of say the 70s, basically. This one I'm growing up, born in '68. So going up through the 70s, it's very close to a rock style of,
It's funny because all those bands you've mentioned, they're also kind of intricate in their playing and their guitar work. It must be, for a young boy, it must be so hard to kind of comprehend what's going on in these songs and the structures.
It was, yeah. It's like a mist of war, your fog of war, if you like.
Yeah.
It used loosely. When there's more, you explore, and then once you've explored for like 6 months, you can look back to where you started and go, "Oh, I'm actually doing that wrong now." I know now that was wrong, and then it's making those steps. And as I'm learning, because I didn't have a teacher, I learned by myself, by ear. And we had these little the books that if I can get hold of a tablature book, I'd have one. Tablatures of the Led Zeppelin tunes, and Jimi Hendrix one was probably a bit harder. That people weren't. I don't think people wrote up a lot of tabs for Jimi Hendrix at the time.
Yeah.
I couldn't find any. I mean, the shops were pretty lean in Norfolk at the time. But yeah, it was hard to understand, get your head around the sounds, also the pulling, the feeling of it. But avidly, I would be going through it. I mean, listening at night, I'd be like falling asleep with Pink Floyd going on, and just like tracing the notes of how Dave Gilmour would do his solos. I was tracing it with my eyes, going up and down like this as I'm sort of drifting off to sleep for school next morning. And so yeah, it just took me, and it took me away from the family at the time, which was broken.
Yeah.
And all the parents, my mum gone living down the road. It was stressful time, obviously. It wasn't stressful, but I did remember running away from home. So like 2 miles away where my mum was, but it was a big busy road, the A40, which didn't have an underpass then. But I traverse across to find. But the last place I visited, me and my brother, we'd go there. But so it was a release, to get away from
Yeah,
not having a
it's
mum
some
around
sort of
anymore.
escape in it.
Yeah, it was.
Mm. And
So that's what drove my brothers crazy as I'm going through learning to Heaven solo over and over and over again. This is like, I apologise to them for this.
and how did it progress then? When did you start playing in bands and stuff like that?
When I said, well, probably about 18, 19, I thought I was ready. That's when I've done about 4 or 5 years of learning, and I thought I'm good enough, I think, to go into a band now. I've obviously got a better guitar as well. I've no idea where those guitars have gone since. So, but yeah, I did my first audition was somewhere down in Hounslow. Yeah, it might have been Hounslow, but it was for a sort of PIL, Public Image Limited type band.
Right.
It wasn't really me, coming from a rockier background, and they just wanted pure sort of punky thing. And the first time I'd have probably even heard of Pill, to be honest
Right.
with you. So I didn't fit the bill. I didn't get that one. But about a year later, I was living then in near Neasden, with my Irish girlfriend, and answered and had in the lute. And this is only my second audition. And this is the one where I met the boys.
Right.
It was an advert in the lute. Come down to Hounslow. We need a guitarist in the type of, say, Townsend, Hendrix, Page, that sort of ilk,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of thing I'm looking for at the time. And I turned up. They'd seen about 50 other guitarists before me.
Yeah.
So they were, it was a popular ad, obviously. So, and the fact they didn't find anyone.
Yeah.
In
Well,
many people that came up.
I seen that they had a boy in Australia. Was it an Australian boy? And he left to join Jesus and the Mary Chain after a
That's
week.
right, yeah, there was something earlier before I came along. So I'm a bit vague on the story, but there was some connection with some guy that was with them and didn't last that long. It wasn't
Yeah.
weren't jelly really. Yeah.
Initially, the band was called Purple. Is that right?
Yeah, the band, well, the outfit that Nigel and Matthew came down from Birmingham was a band called Purple. They had a friend of theirs, David Griffiths, was a guitarist with them. I think again from Birmingham area, and then they had what's his name? There's a guy, the bass player, was just really into Red Hot Chili Peppers, Red Hot
Mm-hmm.
Chili Peppers. And I can't remember his name now. He was a French guy, but he was a really, really busy bass player, and he just filled every space with notes and notes and notes. And I
Mm-hmm.
think the guys really liked that sort of thing. So with that, and David Griffiths not really liking the direction the band was going in and things like that. I think Nigel and Matthew had chats with each other, and you know, it was left up to one of them to get rid of them. You
Right.
know, yeah, to call his mate and say, "Look, you're not in the band. We don't want you to be in the band anymore. It's just a negative energy you've got all the time, and they want something to go in the right direction for them." And that's obviously really hard. I can't remember who it was that did the dumping, but he still was a friend afterwards. David was.
Yeah.
Um, so we still know him, but oh god, the French bass player's name, their name's going to bug me. But he, I think he decided to leave, and it was that was a relief to the boys as
Mm-hmm.
well. So it was down to two of them then, and then Nigel decided, oh, he's going to take up the bass. Matt's obviously on the drums. We need a guitarist, and we went like through 50 of them. There was like guys turning up. And one of them was about a 50-year-old, say about my age, turning up at a door for a band in their 20s, early 20s.
Yeah.
I'll come for the guitar audition, and I think Matthew at the door, and he went, "No, you haven't," and just closed the door on him. They'd had enough by that point. They'd had enough.
Yeah.
And then I turned up. I came up with a lumberjack shirt on. They had a lumberjack. One of them had a lumberjack shirt on. And played a song. I had one of my song ideas, which really similar to one of their ideas. And then I just kept doing some feedback notes that just went on forever. And
Mhm.
they were like, "Ah, fucking what? What is this?" They're looking at each other. That's how they retell the story. I'm only, paraphrasing them.
Mm.
But yeah, been a long journey.
Yeah. So you were all sharing a flat in Hounslow.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
Hounslow.
Which obviously I got the gist of that story from my previous guest, Mark Morris, who then
Yeah.
I don't know if there was some sort of crossover whether these were all staying in the house at some point and then they took it over. But he said at the time it was the messiest house in the street, and that's what attracted him to come to see you.
It's funny you say that because Mark is like the tidiest person I've ever known. It's the guy that cuts his own roaches with the scissors, and
Mm,
all his equipment for rolling a joint are in a little box, box with a lid. Everything's sorted out. Even his whistles are cut to their specific level. And when he comes on the tour bus, he'll be cleaning the tour bus before the driver has done it. He goes to hotels. He'll be cleaning the hotels rather than throwing the TV out the window.
it's funny you should say that about the joints because when I had him on the podcast, obviously 2 or 3 weeks ago, um, and during the podcast he must have rolled 3 or 4 joints during the duration of the the podcast. It was brilliant. It was neither up nor down for smoking big
Yeah,
cones. But it was
that in the
brilliant. It
morning
was
or the afternoon?
uh
In the morning was that?
in the afternoon. I ran about the
The
same
afternoon.
time as yourself.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Uh,
I, yeah.
so obviously staying in that house, you had like a little rehearsal space and all that. So
That's right. Yeah, we had a little rehearsal space in the back. We had this garage basically, which we converted. Well, loosely the word converted. We had pallets, and we'd wrap them in carpets, nailing carpets to them, but rolled up copies of carpets in the voids in between.
mhm.
And we'd fill it up like that, stack it up against the wall, and pin them up against the wall, and then carpet it again, and then had this like this huge flipping door that had no hinges. It was just length on the opening, and it must have weighed half a ton. Pushing it in, and this is where I had my audition as well. And we continued to rehearse every day when we were at home. We were just like drawing dull, and then just in there every day. But yeah, it was a pretty heavy door, which did fall down on Nigel at one point. We thought we'd lost him, splattered. But yeah, it was a nice little garage, and yeah, it was inherited by the Blue Tones, as you say. It was a merge. We didn't live two bands together. I think one at a time. One moved out, one came in. We
Right.
started. I was the one left, the last one there, really, in the attic. When the boys pretty much had all moved in, Blue Tones had. It would take a week or two. I didn't stay there long. I went and moved off up to like Finsbury Park after that. But yeah, it was great to see Mark coming round and then taking an interest in us. I mean, he really did just live around the corner. But we'd met him at the Highgate, the railway tavern. I think it was the place in
Hmm.
Highgate. It's a gig right by the station. The Who played there many years before. It was still going then at the start of this time. I don't think it is anymore as a venue. But I met him in the audience after our gig. We played there, but not early '91, I suppose. Or, yeah, late 1990.
Right.
And we just remained just found he lived around the corner, so we invited him round. That's where it all sort of started, really. Yeah, yeah, our friendship began.
Yeah.
Um, but
It's refreshing to see that as well, to see kind of obviously you are all pretty close still all these
mm,
years down the line. It's nice
yeah,
to see that sort of relationship.
mm.
What was you touched on kind of gigging in brief detail there. So what was gigging like in your area at that time? I seen somewhere that you were playing like fortnightly gigs in a pub in a wine
That's
bar, was it?
Yeah, wine bar it was. Walking downstairs underneath a bank or something. It was open up in the evening. It was downstairs in the basement, and we were basically looking around for residency because we just caught on a story that the Rolling Stones used to do that. They'd be around the area,
Hmm.
Hounslow. It's really close to Kingston and Richmond, just down the road. So I thought, well, in Twickenham, I think the Rolling Stones had a venue of their own. They could play regularly. I think it was in Twickenham where their venue was. Well, anyway, it was like it influenced us into getting our own sort of thing started. I've got a big bloody good idea. Every 2 weeks we can play. We've got a guaranteed fucking gig,
Yeah.
and we'll start a club and Matthew and Nigel love the records and they love to play and they'll play the DJ decks and they'll get friends down from Birmingham that started kipping on the couch and they played the decks as well and it became the Dodgy Club as well as then the band would play. And we'd go to uh the lights effects shop and hire some psychedelic disc projector things.
Uh-huh.
We get loads of, sheets, bed sheets, and psychedelic sheets, and start hanging up on the wall, and just really decorating the place for the evening. Get there quite early and start decorating and set up and everything. And there was no stage, it's a fucking thing in the corner. All the tables, it's a cocktail bar basically. So all tables were moved out. We done a deal with the owner. We said, look, you take the stuff on on the bar. We'll make sure people turn up, and we'll take the stuff on the door. And he was happy with that. And when we go down to fly, it was really a good central place because you had Kingston College, Twickenham College, and Richmond College, all really
Aye.
close vicinity. So we just walked into those colleges and put our flyer up on their board. And it just started to grow and grow and grow. It became a real popular night and event. And it's still going today. It's still happening today now as a venue where people
Right.
go through that. So yeah,
It's
definitely
something you
great.
don't hear a lot of nowadays is bands
No,
getting a residency. That I had a guest on, Jack Jones for Trampoline, and I think they had a residency for a while in Coco in London. But other than that, it's not something that you hear of a great deal. But as you
no.
say, it's ideal for that you get gigs whenever you want, basically.
Yeah. I mean, be a good idea for you when you start up your managing career.
Yeah,
Look out for a venue, fortnightly venue. I mean, I think inevitably managers tend to become promoters as well, or parts of bands become promoters because they know how to do it, that sort of
hmm
thing. But yeah, it's something that it could still happen. I mean, apart from the fact that venues are closing at an incredible rate
yeah,
over these years now since COVID. Music venue trusts are doing their best to save them and keep the dialogue going. And but there's always opportunities are going to come up out of these
yeah,
the ashes of some of these venues, and opportunities for bands to do it themselves. Really,
yeah.
it's I
I
think it's
mean,
very attractive for people who wanted to work with us at record companies because we were quite low maintenance. We were doing it ourselves.
yeah. I think that's where it's headed again now. Is the kind of DIY element of it is that's the model that people are starting to use again. There's
Yeah,
no
yeah.
there's no the same amount of record contracts getting handed out as there was in the kind
He,
of 90s and early noughties. It's kind of that's all died away. So you need to do it yourself.
he is, yeah. You have to get out there and start meet people, and by meeting those people, we'll get those contacts going, and you get into the stream of their contacts as well, and
Yeah,
you're on the right track. I mean, there used to be scenes, didn't there? Used to be
yeah,
scenes, the Manchester scene, the Coventry scene, or whatever. The London scene obviously is still there, but it's still fragmented. There wasn't this binding thing like the Enemy used to be quite a well read paper, where you could really engage in what was going
hmm
on the ground. I'm now of a different generation. Now. I don't know where those streams are, where people can meet, and so they say TikTok's a really big thing now, and the short 5 second bursts and things like that, which bands do, and yeah, the Arctic Monkeys been the first ones to come out and say MySpace and things like that, wasn't it?
yeah.
And
I mean,
you know,
it has got to the point.
mm,
I'm pretty savvy on most social media, but I mean the TikTok thing, I can't get my head around that.
no,
I think I've just missed the boat on that. I'm far too old for it.
yeah, but it's also like a big wormhole you're going
Yeah,
down. It's to be a viewer on it, it's just crazy. Your day's gone, and you realise you've just
yeah,
wasted an hour or something, drawn into it. To create things like that, I just don't have that drive, putting up. I mean, I do my art, you see, I do my art. I should be
yeah.
used as a medium, it's a very strong medium for artists, is to do a
hmm
quick and look down on a quick progress of how I'm doing a drawing, Um,
Yeah,
so yeah, I mean, Nigel could probably do a bit more TikTok, but then it doesn't appeal to our generation. You see, our fans don't use TikTok, so
yeah. Well, that's what I was going to say. I mean, it's not something I've never even downloaded it.
yeah.
My wee boy. Well, I say my wee boy. He turns 16 in 2 days, and
Oh
he's on
wow,
it, and I kind of think, well, I'm 25 years older than him, so I really shouldn't begin near it.
yeah,
Obviously,
yeah,
so like going back to these gigs in the wine bar, after 8 months of playing these gigs, he's had a record deal. So you
Yeah.
must have been doing something right there.
Yeah. I mean, the record company just come down. Well, the people were interested. We started creating a buzz around us, and we'd also got. By that point, we were talking to Andy Winters, our manager, that went on to manage us through the early Dodgy years and the
Mhm.
3-piece suite albums and the years with A&M. He guided us through there, but I believe he was with us then, and he started getting the word around with people to come down and check out this band, and he's enthused by it. He's got great, knows how to speak, knows how to talk, and I think it was Matthew that popped a cassette tape in his pocket in town once.
Yeah.
Going, I'm watching some band, and I chat with him, sneaked a tape into his pocket, and then he's next morning, he's like, "What is this?" And I remember getting this. He put it on. It's a fucking phone number on there. He liked what he heard. He called us up and says, "I'm interested." And he got us onto the Gary Crowley, the fucking hit show, the week, some sort of phone-in favourite song of the week, Gary Crowley. Can't remember the name of the show, but we won it for like 3 weeks or 4 weeks in a row, which got us a great bit of attention. But then they started to come down to the Dodgy Club, and we charged them on the door. I wouldn't give any students concessions or anything like that. There was no guest list. It's only up to we crying out loud. We've got to get our money in, and it'd be fine. We'll charge them a tenner.
Mhm.
Them a tenner coming. So they all came down, and I suppose because it was full, and it's a nice little tight place, because it's full, and they see the kids just like going nuts for it. That's just the most impressive thing. That's what guides them. More whether they like the songs or not. They might like a couple of tunes, but there's something about this band, like, because the fucking kids are here. They want
Yeah.
to sell to those kids. So through that, it came through to we were suddenly talking to these like Island, A&M, Python. We just went talking to all these bloody record companies. What's it? The one with Chesney Hawkes is on. A Virgin and etc. So yeah, we're very popular. We wanted to get into the US and we signed one, so it came down to like Ireland or A&M, and
Uh-huh.
it was very close, and we ended up with A&M because they had a solid company over in America.
Mhm.
But it didn't really turn out like that. We never really got to do America. But I'm going a bit too far ahead. I digress.
Yeah, yeah.
You make
So
your point.
like obviously going to A&M because again the Blue Tones ended up signing for A&M and and Mark's kind of reasoning behind that was that they were able to have more control of their product. So was that kind of did that have a was that part of your thought process as well?
We um we joined A&M because yes, we felt like we had a bit more freedom. They let us. There was a time the atmosphere at the time in the music industry, record companies was just sign them and let them develop, and
Uh-huh.
we managed to develop with A&M and left us to our own devices. They would send someone down, some young A&R guy, to come and check up on us, which would make Matthew really nervous. It'd always make him really nervous. So he's like jumping around going, make sure you got this, do this, do this, do this, make sure, talk about this and like that, like making us nervous. Just calm down, calm down. So, Tony Pokes here, just beef him, butter him up, and didn't realise he's been overheard and the guy could hear him. Oh, it's all good. Oh my God. Anyway, so they come down. Yeah, we have a good lot of Howard Burnham was the guy's name, the NMD, and he we would sign to him. We wanted him to be our A&R guy. He was the MD. He was the managing director. So we wanted him to be our A&R guy. We didn't want the head of A&R to be our A&R or anyone on the A&R team to be our A&R. We wanted security, but this guy is ours. And so when he agreed that, well, on the face of it, it probably looked like that. Yeah, of course I'll be your A&R guy. Just sign the damn bloody contract. And then we got pushed on to the A&R.
Uh-huh.
People be like, But so there was we just immediately felt like it was a family there as well. They really got on well with us. We would go around to the company in Fulham and walk around the offices, and we're looking forward to it because we want to see the secretaries as well, all the ladies and the other people that worked in the departments. And they were looking forward to seeing us as well. So, didn't care about the blokes. Yeah.
Yeah. So
But
is it the record label then that put you on to Ian Brody to produce the first album?
yeah, well, there's that, and Matthew and Nigel, they kind of know what they want as well. And they'd known of Ian Brody for quite a while, and his lightning seeds, and it seemed quite similar to our sound.
Hmm.
So we got him along, and for the first album, it was going up to Liverpool and recording with him, and just our first time in a big studio. And we'd been doing our B sides in these little cramped places around London, which were fine and great atmospheres in them. But now we're in a big studio, Past Street in Liverpool with Ian Brody, and he knows how to use that desk, and he knows how to
Yeah.
do the shit. And I think our first time of sort of pre-production that we would go through with him. I mean, there's not a lot of pre-production with Brody, more so later on with Hugh Jones. What I mean by that is by looking at the songs and really rearranging them. Like you've got this bit here, and it's getting a bit repetitive now. You're going back into standing at a verse, bridge, chorus, then you do
Hmm.
another verse, bridge, chorus, then you do a little middle eight, and it's all predictable, passe. But then we get Juicy comes along, they start going, we could use this half that one there, turn that around there, switch that, da, 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 and it's like, oh fucking hell, yeah, I didn't see that before, and it's all becomes more longevity added to it because you want
Yeah.
to. It's just lost by so quickly a 4 minute song because you change these things around. But that's what Ian Brody and Hugh Jones would bring to the table.
And this is the
And
thing. I mean, you look at Ian Brody. Ian Brody's still doing it now. Still
yeah,
producing all these records for a lot of up and coming bands now, and he's still going out and performing as well.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. But they loved their music. I mean, he's a great influence on us, and me as well. My guitar parts, Ian would help me with those. He's got
hmm
great guitar soloists as well. Um, so I was showing a few bits on there. So yeah, a great relationship that was born out of it, and with the love of Liverpudlian people up there when we were staying up there for quite a long periods of time.
yeah.
Mm.
So I mean, Ian Brody produced the second album as well, Homegrown, which was only a year after the first one. And
He
it had on
well, he
it.
did half of Homegrown. He did a little bit half of
Yeah,
that
well,
start until
him and Hugh Jones as well. So Hugh Jones came in then as well.
right, yeah. I mean, Bill Brody was on the Dodgy album, the first album, and yeah, the second album was started with Ian, but we felt like we wanted a different approach. Um, I think maybe Nigel was seeing it the way it was going was with the right way. There was songs like Grassman that we were playing around with on demos and stuff. We couldn't put it on the first album. I believe it was either Hugh or Ian said, "You're not good enough yet to 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 master that song to get that done yet." You need
Right.
to leave it for a little while. We've developed as a band, which you tend to do when you're sort of listen to click tracks, and eventually you get used to the click tracks. You don't need click tracks anymore. The drummer's just on it. He's just kept it straight. There's no rushing and slowing down, that sort of stuff. And but with songs like that, with Grassman, you wanted it to speed up and slow down naturally. A lot of those
Right.
old tunes did that. Hendrix would have little slower bits and sped up and slowed. And, it sounded completely different now if you'd had technology to straighten it out to make it, robot like. It would just
Hmm.
sound completely different. The feel is there when it goes down. But yeah, lots of things learned, through
So was
recording.
that kind of was there a kind of thinking behind that? you were maybe starting to sound similar to Lightning Seeds, and you kind of wanted to take
Yeah, I
away
think
that sound a bit.
yeah, I think so. I think so. We wanted a bit more of a harder edge.
Hmm.
Um, and through something, there was producers' names. Lecky was thrown around. Is some of the older Stone Roses producers. We wanted to get something like that. We'd
Uh-huh.
worked a bit with Paul Schroeder, who's engineered on some of those early Stone Roses records. And but we came upon Hugh Jones. Just seemed like when we met him, just like we got on really really well. Very calming persona. Very calming is what you would want, and really good at just cutting out the crap, um, and being the catalyst in the center, the one that could just like if I couldn't get an idea across to Nigel or Matthew could do that. There's a certain way of doing it without offending someone. And
Yeah,
he would do it really, really easy. He'd just get the job done. This is what sounds good. We then put our ideas into this guy, and then he makes them sound good. Or he goes, yes, that we'll have a bit of that, have a bit of that. We could do this, and
yeah. Which it's probably easier to take that
yeah, yeah,
criticism off the producer than it is off of your fellow bandmates, isn't it?
yeah,
It's,
yeah,
so, I mean, on that album, you had Staying Out for the Summer, which
yeah,
is like the first kind of massive Dodgy song.
yeah.
Um, it, it got to number 38 in the charts, and then the remix came out, it got to number 19, which,
That's right. Yeah, well, you know better than me. I can't remember the bloody and the
well,
chart
just when I
percentage.
was checking it out, because it is a massive song, and like once I seen where it got to the charts, where it charted, I was surprised because I would expected it to be top 10, if not top five. It's one of these songs that you mention it to somebody and they'll know it straight away.
Yeah, yeah. Got paid a lot.
When you come up with like a song like that, what's the thinking then? Do you kind of think like this is us, we've struck gold with this?
Well, sort of. I mean, we do as much as to put in our fave bits. When a musician in a band, you want to enjoy playing a song. So, you've got something in there when you're playing it live. You don't want to look like you're really bored.
Hmm.
Bored. Like with every song, we're always trying to put everything into it. We believe every one of those was a single. So it's hard to see one that really popped out as a single. So when
Yeah.
you get the company, other people on the outside of the band that are saying this one, you tend to believe in them to that extent. We're staying up to summer, it's not like, we're going, this is a fucking banger. This is definitely going to be right up there. And I was thinking we knew the landscape well enough to know that would be a hit. It's another thing. But we maybe didn't do a lot of other factors that were at play. Maybe that people weren't coming across in interviews maybe as well as we'd liked. It's a
Hmm.
lot of that part of a scene, a cool scene, a niche scene, part of where you'd have a bunch of friends in your school, and there's one the cool guy that's just always got the right sort of music. Maybe we didn't engage with them well enough, and it didn't filter through to everyone else. Maybe just went over their heads, or maybe it was just a name. The name says, you get like, oh, I'm a Dodgy fan. You're Dodgy, are you? And it's a turn on piss take from them, and embarrassed and
It's funny you mentioned that, like the name, because of his no, not so much yourself, but there've been so many bands that I've kind of no gave the time of day because of their name, and then it's like a
yeah,
couple of albums in that I go and listen to them, and I think no, they're decent. I mean,
yeah,
the Arctic Monkeys was probably the first one. I wasn't interested. I thought it was a stupid name,
yeah, yeah,
and look where they are now. Catfish and the Bottlemen, the same sort of thing with them, and more
yeah,
recently a Scottish band, the Snuts, who I went to see at the weekend. They played two massive shows in Glasgow. But again, I never get into them at the start just because of the name. So
yeah,
it just shows you some people can be it's not even turned off. I just never gave the bands the time at the start just because of the name.
Yeah, it could be such the smallest little thing, you know. Sometimes I thought that maybe we're going to run into that a bit too quickly choosing our name, but it's the name that just pops up and you never forget. I mean, and so, but yeah, if it'd been something else chosen from inside a novel, some, like I say, Joy's Division name picked out of some thought process, but we were high on acid when we chose it. So
And
we
the thing is, I mean, the name Dodgy for me are synonymous with a certain time period. So I'll always remember these for that. So
yeah,
it can go two ways.
yeah, it can go two ways.
Yeah. Next album was Three Piece Suite, which is probably where I kind of come into use. That's where I kind of discovered these
Yeah,
properly. But I mean, around about this time, you were doing a lot of political work as well, kind of supporting the Dockers, playing
yeah,
out in Sarajevo, stuff like
yeah.
that. So was that present in your mind that you had to have you had to support these causes, you had to
Well,
kind of support your beliefs?
absolutely. No, it just turns out. I mean, I joined the band. I was, my dad's and it's always been Labour voter. I grew up being a Labour voter and that sort of thing. Political. Nigel, more so. I think with his songs, using it as a vehicle. He's heavily into his punk and uh, crass,
Mm-hmm.
things like that. So he's quite, he's a militant in a sense. He's got a bit softer in these later days, but he's still there. He does speak up for everyone when he's
Yeah,
up there talking to the crowd in that festivals. Festivals a bit hit and miss. You always get your own fans there, but he'll still say he's a call to arms and everything. It's all get together and keep ourselves together. We're better than them, that sort of thing. It always has been a strong um, vein of political view, uh, um, political agenda going through the band, um, and it was very strong and appealing to us. Out the Dockers in Liverpool, we spent a lot of time doing our first album up there. We felt like they're it's a second home.
yeah.
So we were very much into helping them,
I,
on the cause.
I think it is stuff like that is appreciated by these people.
Mm,
That somebody like yourselves is able to use your platform to kind of raise awareness of what's going on.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
something that's music's always done. Like if you
yeah.
think about the Paul Weller and like the Red Wedge movement.
But it sets a divide between mainstream music and
Uh-huh.
alternative music. Alternative music is that platform. It's that platform to get together and have a meeting,
Mm-hmm.
talk about issues which are massively important to people. And it's not just a band jumping on a bandwagon. It's just you actually believe it. It's just like it's a vehicle to get people together, who are singing the same mind, but not totally exclusive. You see, it's up to
Yeah.
the opening of the debate.
Yeah.
So
I mean, even as I mentioned earlier about going to see the Snuts at the weekend, obviously they a big massive open air show in Glasgow, like their hometown, and they projected a big screen at the back and said, "People make Glasgow refugees welcome." And
yeah,
things like that, such a statement like that, and
yeah,
it resonates so much with the crowd because it is. I mean, like Glasgow, Liverpool, Manchester, all these places are really, for all there's poverty and whatever going on in the city, the people in these places are really caring, and I think the
yeah,
music connects them with that sort of thing. I mean,
yeah,
again, it Transmit a couple of weeks ago, a wee boy Declan Welsh in the Decadent West. He used up about 5 minutes of his set, um, doing a speech about the people of Palestine, and that's, as you say, it's
mm,
brilliant doing it at a festival because you're not just touching your own fans, you're reaching out to other people and
yeah,
getting
yeah.
to get there. So I mean, it's still really strong now. So what's it like then going out and playing in Sarajevo at that time?
What was it like? It was an eye opener, massive eye opener. I've never been to a country. It's so beautiful, the country is, and but then you go into the cities and towns. Never seen the aftermaths of fresh war, like the fresh wounds on a building, um, torn up, seeing the steel spikes poking out of the top of the house, blown off. Seeing the most photographed bus in the world at the time. There was this bus riddled with bullets. It's like some sort of school bus or something,
Yeah,
riddled with bullets, burnt out. On the front line of this street in Mostar, I believe it was, and yeah, brutal. The Mostar Bridge as well. Now it's been put back together again. That like a 600-year-old, 1,000-year-old bridge or something it was that was blowing up, and just meeting those people there as well from both sides. I think like saying that the Muslims and the Croatians, the Serbians were previously friends before, and suddenly fighting against each other.
yeah.
Uh,
And that's the thing. I mean, a lot of them don't even really know why it's happening. It's just kind of, it just feels natural that they need to be against a certain
yeah, there
race
was
or
an ethnic
whatever. It's
cleansing going on there, and dark money involved, and
mm,
far-reaching fingers from some nations that are trying to wave the flag of peace, and the like the American hegemony.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah,
Dark money going in everywhere, and the fights between the two big major powers erupting out of Serbia and Croatia.
yeah.
That sort of goes
But
on all
that,
the
but
back.
that's just it. Ultimately, at the end of the day, it comes down to money, doesn't it? There's really, when these
Yeah.
countries get involved, there's a
Mm.
reason why they're getting involved. It's
Mhm.
because they care about the people, because
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
you can get at the end of the day.
yeah. It is. It's a big money. It's supposed to be a perpetual war. I mean, perpetual war of the money making, and they don't want no. There's no peace. Um, it's all orchestrated in back rooms and everything. Look, you have a Murdochs and everything. It's pretty depressing, and there has to be an antidote to it. And music is, and
Hmm.
music and bands and people speaking and talking is the antidote. Getting informed, being informed
Yeah,
is to stop it. The only way to stop it, you know. So
yeah.
protest and shit.
Well, that's it. And as I say, it's still going on now, and it'll still be going on long after me and you are gone. There's still going to be these
Yeah.
protests. Going back to the album, then Three
Yeah.
Piece Suite came out 1996 at probably the perfect time for British music, and I can remember sitting in my room with one of my pals at the time playing FIFA or something like that, and I had this album on, um, and my pals were like, "What the fuck is that?" Because it was just so different, man. It just I don't think it was different. I think it was just guitar music. It was the sort of music I listened to. But when he said that, he
Yeah.
said, that you're listening to, I think that's when
Yeah.
I realised that the music I listened to was different for the mainstream.
Yeah.
Um, but it's the sort of album that you put that on, you just play it right through, and it kind of takes you away in a journey. So
Yeah.
many good songs on it. There's like four brilliant singles. So
Yeah.
how did that to me is like the pinnacle of Dodgy.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm. Me
how did
too.
how did the recording of that go, and what's the kind of what I've no asked through any of the other albums? What is the sort of writing process for these?
Well, there was always like hundreds of songs Nigel used to be having around, on tapes strewn
Hmm.
across the floor, and it was whittled down into a probably then to about 25 songs. and then whistle down again as you could go through them. It's a lot of work, really, going through each song. You're going to go through this one today. We're going to try and find some ideas for that one, ideas for this one. You need a fucking verse for this one. Might need, there's something missing. There's still something needs for that one, whether it comes about or not, or it just goes down straight to B-side, never finding that new bit. That's what sort of happens. You got other songs coming in all the time, and ones that pop up at the front of the queue, queue jumping, going, what the fuck did that one come from? That's definitely in. And then basically you got those songs concise, and then as I said earlier, with Hugh Jones, now we're in a great relationship with him. Having done the previous album, we know what he's like. We're comfortable with him, and so we go into pre-production, and this is like whittling it all the way down to it's just the bass drum and the bass. That's all that's going on right now. So we've got a sort of rough arrangement going on. That's it's about what the fuck is happening with the bass and the fucking bass drum, and it really was back down to. Then we start adding things and adding more, and that's the way we build up a song now. We'd never done that before. We just jam, 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 jam. We're listening to these undertones of what's matching. I mean, generally your guitar is going to be hitting with the snares and the hi hat, and your bass drum is going with the toms and the bass, sorry, bass toms and bass drum with the bass, and also then marrying together with the melody. They want to be snapping in. Everything is the DNA is the melody, and so it started to come into us like that, epiphanies like this. So so pre-production was just an eye opener, and then we've suddenly got this the new song that has come out of the old song. It's been twisted so much, and it's so interesting now. It's just boring for one thing. It's like it became very interesting, and then the ideas started popping out as well. Other ideas was starting to be created, and very meticulous at the start, and then recording wise, that's Hugh Jones's area. We were getting nice studios, putting this studio there. Now we're going to Wessex. We're going up to Rockfield. We're in Battery Studios in Holston. I don't think that's there anymore. There's 3 or 4 studios. Olympia, maybe up there as well. There was all these, we're in a lot of great studios. Couldn't do that nowadays, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Having the budget to do it, but that's just.
What's the reason for the different studios? Is it just certain studios you're able to get different sounds that you couldn't get elsewhere?
Well, yeah, I mean, there was a great reverb chamber in Rockfield Studios.
Right.
It'd be the old horse stables, and each one of them had a different plates, different reverb sound that they've channeled their lines into, which goes back into the studio.
Right.
So doing feeds out to the stables and then back again onto the record with your guitar or your vocal thing. More natural and organic sounds you get from those studios.
Yeah.
And it was down to the desks as well. Hugh Jones would be really, he wanted to use Neve desks. Well, there's a lot of Neves were being used back in them days, automated faders, all going up by themselves, coming down, going up, like a fucking spaceship, the fucking thing was, and so, but yeah, it was more to do with the desks being used and their setup, which Hugh Jones chose, to be honest with you. He's the one to ask about that.
Right. It is really interesting when you hear these like bands even now when they choose a certain studio, and it's always something that I've wondered is what the difference is between studios. So all of these have got different sounds, and then depending on what producer you combine that with as well, can make a different sound again, I would imagine.
Yeah, it definitely does. I remember always Matthew asking us, what's the drum sound like? What's the hall like? What's the big hall sound like? Because we want to put the drums in that big hall and mic it up like that, and putting, but then, once you got that, it started stacking, making his bass drum look like a flipping tube train. It go on like a tube train. and a big tunnel coming out of it, and putting a mic at the end. It was closed off like that, extended longer,
Right.
and put a mic at the end. Obviously on the outside, not where his chair was, but where he's because he'd be having these 6 foot long sticks to hit me fucking the drums.
Yeah, like
So
that Supergrass video.
yeah, excellent. Yeah,
Yeah.
going out the other way. So we get it was there was for the drum sound as well. I don't mind so much about your guitar sounds because you can put it in the big hall, or you could put it in the little rooms, all that. I like getting in there in the room when my guitar's being done. I don't like being in the studio next to the boys when they're all sitting and doing it there. It's just really, really bloody awkward.
Yeah.
Um, in a zone, hearing the fucking thing, getting close and getting a bit of feedback and that. So, she does, yes, but it didn't really matter for me. I could just, jump in any, uh, any room to do it. But for drum sounds and for desks, is one of the main reasons why we change the studio. So yeah.
Mm. So as I said, obviously 4 singles off the album, but I mean, I look at that and you could probably add another 4 onto that you could bring in as singles for that album. Eh,
Yeah,
and then after that came, you brought it like Aces and Killer Bees. Eh,
yeah, yeah,
was obviously at the start I'd mentioned you'd signed, it was like a 6 album deal you'd signed. So
yeah,
at
yeah,
that point was things going the other way and you were trying to kind
yeah.
of just string out another release to kind of get
Yeah,
the
it was like that, really. There was no real recorded things on there apart from is it every single day? I think that was a single that went on it. It is tagged on the end as an original. Something wasn't
uh-huh.
poached from other records, previous records. So Ace to Killer Bees were just all our B sides, A sides, that sort of thing. With an original single. I could be wrong. I mean, I probably am. I'm bloody wrong about a lot of things from the past. And Matthew will probably correct me if he sees this interview. But it's yeah, it wasn't a traditional record as in we record everything and put out new songs. Yeah, it was just the record company was breaking up. The relationship between the MD in the UK, Osmond Erlat, was the
Uh-huh.
MD. He was uh, some sort of family connection with the MD or the part of A&M in America. Some sort of relationship was breaking down. They folded in the UK around the time when Nigel decided to leave the band.
Yeah.
Actually, and I just don't read the band at that time when we'd already signed a deal to take on to the next step. And then a week later he said, we received money from that signing, re-signing, and then Nigel then said, "I'm leaving the band." Sorry, I was going to tell you earlier. It's like, oh no, you just led us into this huge, huge depths. Now we've got to wolfed it to negotiations with the record company was that we needed to do another single to appease them and bring something out before we'll wrap it up. So that's what happened. But
So
I was running ahead
was
of it too far. I was running ahead of it. Well,
what was Nigel's reasons then for leaving the band? Was it to concentrate on family
well,
at the
really.
time?
Yeah, he was starting a new family. He needed advanced warning about where he was going and what we're doing. And well,
Yeah.
the manager was like, "Look, I'm going to make you guys rich and famous or whatever. Well, you want this? We're going to cement your career or whatever. We don't care about the rich and famous. That's all really just it's horror of fame. It's troublesome. It's just shocking what it is. That you want this career to last, then this is what we're going to do. Get you established, get your household name. But that's all he was committed to doing, our manager. And he didn't care about wives and girlfriends. He just wanted
Yeah.
to get the fucking band done. That's it. And in a sense, that was his downfall. In a sense, he wasn't. Yeah, I mean, he's got so much. I suppose a lot of things, a lot on the job. Doing managing a band. He doesn't want to extend these emotions to people that he's not managing your flipping girlfriend. You manage your girlfriend, you manage your wife, I'll manage the band.
Yeah.
So there was things like that. A tour would come up, he didn't get enough notice. He just didn't like, wait, what was happening? He wanted a bit to take more control of the band way back then. And yeah, I mean, I just come out of a relationship and I was broken, and he came round to talk about the band. He said, it's good to have two pains, to get, when you've got like a cut, but then you have another cut here. You don't notice so much that cut anymore. It's to get, so, that sort of psychology. He pinned on me to say, look, can we leave and come with me, Andy? Nigel would say, come with me, and we'll get another manager. And well, I was of the mind that I thought Andrew Winters was doing a bloody good job still, and
Mm-hmm.
Matthew was very much with Nigel, with Andrew as well. So Matthew and Nigel's relationship have kind of split a bit too far, where they weren't talking as
Right.
much or as closely or as regularly as they were before, because now Nigel got got getting married, got married, and then his a little kid on the way, and things were changing for him. Whereas me and Matthew were out there having a bloody good time, going
Yeah.
out there, yeah, we're going to every opening of every tea bag that there was. So
So
yeah,
obviously, you then carried on the band. You recruited new people. You recruited another three members.
yeah.
And how did it feel? This different inclination of the band. Did it feel
Well,
right?
I mean, for when Nigel left, I had a lot of songs that I wasn't getting into the band. I wasn't getting into the Dodgy albums. One of
Mm-hmm.
my early songs was Cold Tea that I managed to get onto the first album. Ever since then, it might have been one of my songs to appear on a B side here and there. I wasn't getting a lot, but I had a lot there. But I wasn't having gripe that I wasn't getting anything. And when I was upset about it, but I was happy to carry on in the way it was with Nigel. But until then, it came to spout, and I said, well, I've got loads of tunes, and then we had heard a friend of ours that said there's this singer who's got the most soulful voice. This, get him in there, and he's got loads of lovely songs, and so we shared the song base, me and David Bassey, his name was, and it was a lot easier for us to move on quickly, heartbroken, actually devastated, to be honest with you, when Nigel left, because that's your dreams gone, boom,
Yeah.
everything's gone, white. Now, what's the future going to hold? I had a plan for that. It's been blown out of the fucking water. Um, it often happens when you're leaving too many eggs in the basket with other people instead of your own, in a sense. But so it wasn't too bad, but it was also just going to turn to Matthew. Look, Matthew, it's not so bad. Look, we've got some songs. Just prove to him that we can do this by ourselves. Let's prove to Nigel our worth, that he
Mm-hmm.
was wrong to do this, wrong to leave the band. And we carried on. I think the thing is, we should have changed, made another name. Not been Dodgy or Dodgy Mark Two or any of that. Should have been a different band name, because it was a different band. We got a new
Yeah.
singer in, we got a keyboard player in with a new bass player. It was just me and Matthew as original, so majority of it was a completely new thing. So that was probably our only downfall. We had to have separation, probably a bit further than what we did.
Uh-huh. Because
Mm.
obviously the album, Real Estate,
Mm.
Boarded and Teapot Studio, is that up in Dundee, I
Yeah,
think?
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
know that studio well for the
Oh,
View,
good.
the View
Yeah,
record, the first record up there.
with the View, yeah, because he did really well with them. Robin Evans still lives
Mm-hmm.
there, still does recordings up there. Yeah, it's a great studio. It's just a great place to create your records out in just the middle, fucking nowhere, no distractions. You've got a mushroom field just a couple of steps up on the hill. I can go and
Uh-huh.
pick my mushrooms, let them dry out. But and But yeah, it was just a great family atmosphere. Little Mo Evans, this is Sam Brown's son, Sam and Robin's son. You know, him growing up with his sister as well, and yeah, it's just a good little time, good place to record that record. Had a lot of laughs doing that. Saw some UFOs over Perthshire. So we were high on mushrooms, but we did see me and Dave. Me and Dave the singer were standing out the back by the kitchen door and looked up and we saw these fucking moving lights. They were chasing around and moving, and we started calling to them, so take me, don't take me, So we yeah, definitely had fun doing it. It was a good old studio. Definitely, it's a credit for anyone. Every band to go there should go and record there, and especially a local up in Scotland.
Mm-hmm.
We do that.
Obviously, the album didn't chart, and this is kind of the next album kind of charted at 76, and then the following album again didn't chart, which is again similar.
In a cool place, you mean?
Yeah, that number 76, and the following one in 2016 that didn't chart either. Similar story with like the Blue Tones after the kind of highs, then the kind of changes in the band or whatever. The success seemed to kind of dip quite quickly.
Yeah.
What do you put that into? Kind of like the different environment, the music scene, then the like music changing.
Other factors to do with people growing up and having families. People now, our fan base no longer going to clubs, going to venues, not going out on a Saturday night. They're now they're settling down. Their lives are changing. The people, the listenership, they're changing. They're not hitting it as much. You've got young kids at home, can't go out as much, can't go out to that gig on Saturday night, can't find a babysitter. So that's a part of it as well. The fan base is changing. Obviously the clearer ones are that you don't have the big machine. We didn't have the big machine behind us of the music industry of a record company, major record company, even. So we had friends and very well liked in the industry. No one, and also no one wanted to take on, any other major label wouldn't want to take on the debt that we run up with A&M, and it was up to like 900 grand, So and it's still been paid off today. I think they've wiped it off. The company's done an agreement that we're never going to get this money back now. These records are not really selling anymore. There's no prints of these records. They're all on Spotify, and there's not we're going to earn any money on that. And so we had a massive debt that we're carrying over. No record company wanted to touch us really. So we just became in house. Doing our own thing. So there we are, two reasons. So you could say it was that. Or they just got bloody annoyed with us, maybe politically, or hearing Nigel and Mafia, not hearing enough of me. Could be down to that, it was always them, and they always talk about how their cabbages are growing.
It's funny though when you said about people having families and kind of growing up and not being able to go to as many gigs and things like that. Obviously, my friend, I'm not sure. You might know him. Like, I think he's on the Dodgy Facebook fans page. That Stevie Moffat. He's a big fan of the band.
Stevie Moffat.
And he would he'd fit into that mold because he's got a boy that's like Dylan's 18, so he went through a phase where he never went to gigs for all these years. And it's maybe the last 10 years he started going to gigs and he takes his boy with him now. So there was probably that 10-year period where a certain group of your fans would they kind of just took a back seat. And now you're kind of seeing the resurgence. You got these festivals like Shine On and all these other
Yeah.
festivals where your bands are coming back now, and the
Mm.
audience is there
Mm.
again because the audiences grew up and they've come out the other end there.
Mm. Their offspring has grown up, as well. So their offspring's off at college now, so they can go off and do a
Yeah,
weekend do it. Yeah.
because that's kind of, I'm maybe about 2 or 3 years behind Stevie. So I'm
Yeah.
at that point where I'm not getting to as many gigs as I would like. But
Yeah. Yeah.
my youngest boy's 10 year old, so only going to be 3 or 4 years, and I'll be able to start getting back out there a lot more than I'm at the moment. So it's interesting when you say that. I hadn't thought of it like that. So it
Yeah.
might be it might be that every band has to go through that sort of period.
Every band does. Yeah, every band does, and you know, uh, people's lives move on like that. I mean, I let's say this. We're not entirely blameless. I'm not gonna go around and say it can't be us. It, look, we're not perfect. So we all know that we made mistakes, said something wrong, or did something wrong. It could be something like that. I can't really, give enough. Give ourselves a bit of a, slap around the face, you naughty boy, and then just move on. Get depressed about it. But there's other factors as well. You've got with major record companies, they've also got major friends in the press, and the press are writing about bands, and there's new bands coming up, and you just get pushed out. You start pushed out of the way. You're not in the major scene anymore. I'm not getting written about in Bizarre in the Sun column or something.
Yeah.
About, oh, I keep a really untidy kitchen, about something like that, just random stories, and that's what you would be getting, when we were like getting into crossing over, if you sense, when we came to the A&M, they were like, all we need now is someone to get into the papers, into the red top papers, and I'm like, it's getting them in there. Then what happened? Then suddenly I started dating Denise Van Outen. They were like, yes. But they were like, yes. Now we're getting like mainstream newspaper tabloid like interest when that start getting names like that.
Uh-huh.
Like the falsified story of me selling my sex stories about Denise. After we'd split up, falsified utterly. They fucking destroyed me, to be honest with you. It was like, but no, of
Oh,
course
it
people
would
forget that
then.
quickly. But it sold records, and that's what kept us in the mainstream, and that would have helped in our later albums. But yeah, as I say, people like yourselves, take a hiatus from the scene because they're growing up with got their kids to feed and grow up.
Yeah.
Um, you know, it's it's plausible. I'm happy to go with that.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, I mean, like touching on Denise, if you were still with Denise now, you would have been on that Gogglebox.
Goggle bloody book.
You've been on
Oh,
Gogglebox,
hate it.
you and Sean Ryder
Yeah.
and Des and all that, getting the.
Ugh, it's been horrible, honestly. Uh, yeah, it is that, man. And he's always been in the life of the TV, and I think that's why it ended because her agent said he's not cool. Yeah, he's not cool anymore. You've got to find a cooler boyfriend. It was as simple as that. I laugh about it now, but I was quite offended back then. But yeah, it was just the game, playing the game. Yeah. That's why she's still on Gogglebox. She's still on Sunday lunch, and she pops up there. I'm going, for fuck's sake, can I just watch the fucking TV in peace?
So, obviously, you just the last couple of months, you just played the three piece suite tour. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
was that originally scheduled a couple of years before due to COVID or something? That I was working
Right,
at
yeah.
the I was working
No,
at
we
the
just
dates.
still
It would have
bought
been
maths.
25 years, wasn't it?
We still bought maths. We
Yeah.
just got it utterly wrong. It was.
So how did
It was.
that go then? Obviously, you had
Mm,
support for the Supernaturals and Chris
yeah,
Helm. Chris
yeah,
Helm's another guy I've had on the
yeah,
podcast, one of my early episodes.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
how did that wee tour go?
It went great. Yeah, really good, really smooth, really happy with it. Yeah, I mean, we rehearsed about 3 weeks before it. Did like 2 3 days rehearsals for it, and that's it. We were very minimal rehearsals, but once it started, once we got on the roll, and right, and it went bloody quickly, really. Only like 5 dates, unfortunately. But
Mm-hmm.
we're looking to get another 3-piece suite tour done for the end of the year. Near the
Uh-huh.
end, we should be hearing some dates soon. I should think, or in November. To another stint of 3-piece suite again, and but it was really enjoyable. Some of the songs in there played since the record. Maybe we played one of those rivers was once before. It won't, when we released it, obviously we must have played it then. It's a difficult song to do because it's quite acousticy and down like this. You need a classical guitar, and it's just like it's just a pain in the arse getting all that shit together. Um, but and just for one song, Um, but it's been great playing them all the way through from start to beginning because it's like it's another way of playing live. It tends to when we've got a sort of more of a looser set, a lot more talking happens and it can drag on a little bit, But it
Uh-huh.
could be a bit, change a few songs here. It's a bit more stressful when you're putting in a song you haven't played for a year or so, and you're playing it tonight, and oh fuck, I haven't rehearsed it at home, and I have to go. It's nerve wracking. And but with the 3-piece suite tour, you just know what you're doing. Everything, boom, boom, boom. Then you've got all the interludes on the record, which you're playing as well with a
Uh-huh.
sampler thing. So it's all part. It's actually just like putting the needle on the record and letting it play, and that's and we're just there
Yeah.
sort of playing it live like that, and it's just really nice and timely. Boom, 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 boom. No fucking about, no staying on stage feeling really self-conscious. Just in between songs, you're like, okay, we've got this one coming up. Now.
Which
Just
is
start another
it's
song, start
funny
another
because
song.
there's certain
Right.
people are comfortable doing that. Obviously, I went to see Billy Bragg, that
Yeah,
long after the lockdown lifted, and
yeah.
I think he spends more of his gig talking than he does singing.
He's singing, yeah. He can
Yeah.
get nice. Can get a bit like that if you leave him to do a bit too much. Yeah. So that you've got to rein him in a little bit, and he understands. He'll get a bit nervous energy, and he'll just start talking. He'll just start talking.
Hmm.
But other than that, it's great playing with him, with Chris Helm and Supernaturals, as you said. So and they were just lovely. We didn't get to hang around to have a drink with them as much as we liked, but they were just always friendly and yeah, lovely, lovely chaps, lovely chaps. And, Chris Elm always did a couple of tours with him, and yeah, just a nice family atmosphere. No, 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 no issues. I mean, very different from playing with Baby Bird, who he
Uh-huh.
was he was a foul mood pretty much every time he played with us. I'd having a go at our keyboard player who was just practicing up on the accordion outside, and he came out and said, "Who's this cunt?" He's certainly not gorgeous. When he's in a mood like that, he's not gorgeous at all. Yeah. But yeah, so we don't play with him again. But others, other peers, things like we always have a great relationship with. So it was nice to meet the Supernaturals. They
Yeah.
went down really well, which is good to see, and we played their hometowns in Glasgow and that.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, there has been that kind of connection with the Blue Tones and Chris Helm, obviously, Nigel, Mark, and Chris were
Yeah,
doing a
that's
thing
right.
together for a bit, weren't they? They were doing like a wee tour together a
Yeah,
few years back. So it's nice to be able to go to something like that and see
yeah.
three
Super
big,
group.
big names together.
Yeah, yeah. Bit of a super group thing going on, which was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish they'd gotten through and they were writing songs together like that. So it was going to produce something. Maybe down the line, something will come out.
Mm.
But yeah, so we'll see what happens with it. I mean, it's not gone quite like that. Nigel's now going into his more electronic music. He's always had a bit of an electronic mind, the stuff that was coming out on 3-piece suite. There was a lot of resamplings and samples going on with the records, getting the recordings, our own recordings, resampling them in making something else out of them. to find throughout a three-piece suite. But now he's like, so he's always been electronic in mind and getting these new gadgets, and usually for MP3 10 million and da 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 da, and creating new samples and shit. And then he was playing some in the hotel on Saturday night after our gig, and saying, bloody hell, what's that? Like, no, just go and do your own thing. Go and put it all together and go and do it. You don't have to worry about us. Don't need a guitar there. You don't need Matthew's drums. You got it all there. Do it. It's your outlet. You see that through. Do an album that was completely different from anyone would expect. I mean, alienate anyone you fucking want. Just do it. Just it. So he was like, I seem to have the green light, and I want them to know that. About all the time.
So what do you reckon then is a
don't
plan for plans for any new music for Dodgy, do you think?
It's always something in there, we're always thinking about it. It's just time and space, a studio space that's cheap enough or that's free that we could do it in. It's always been a bit of a difficulty to find somewhere free to do. Stand up right in a cool place. Nigel was renting out this house in sort of the corner of this farmland area, but it was a nice kind of old, seemed like an old farmer's house. But it had an old, really, really old barn, which we set up in to do the album. We could just play through the night if we liked, Just going to bed, you needed to sleep, but we would no fucking the neighbours around, so we were constantly going up there, driving up to Birmingham, run up to that area, Worcester kind of ish area, and spending a couple of days up there because it did enough bedrooms to sleep, that kind of thing. That was free, so we could spend as much time as we like refining that album. And it showed when it came out. There was how it all came together. It was a culmination of giving it air to breathe and time to develop. Whereas maybe a later album, our next album, what we're fighting for was a bit more constrained, where Matthew wanted to get out really bloody quickly, and recording was interrupted by where we're going to record it. We had to go to some tower studios, which is in the corner of Pershore, and it's just like a normal rehearsal room. The guys are lovely there, but it's not what we kind of been used to and seen all the huge studios that we recorded before. We did our best. We tried our best. The engineer there was using sampled drums over Matthew's real drums.
Right.
Because the actual drums in the studio, the sound wasn't that great. The drums, I think, they weren't getting a good sound out of it. So the guy, getting around it, he would use sampled drums that were activated by what was coming off of out the studio. And so when Matt heard it, it was like, oh, I can't have this. It's got to be the fucking real drums. I'm not having sampled drums on the big drum kit that's been pre-recorded. I don't want that. So we took it all and went back, I think, to carried it on in Nigel's house in his basement, basically, and all the drums were done. And then Nigel wanted to mix it, or he wanted to be the mixer. So he'd never mixed any of our records before, and this is going to be the first one. This is going to be the guinea pig, and it just took longer to do. Took longer for him to mix it and get around to it, and to finish them off, getting them sounding good, So processes basically. So we just need a studio that's free, and it being like in the back garden of Nigel's place out in Wales, or we can get a good deal with maybe going up Teapot. I mean, that would be an option.
Yeah,
to do it there, that would be great because it's residential as well. We can do it in stints and things like that. So, but Nigel's always got.
We'll put it out there on the podcast for anyone that's trying to gear up the studio for a bit.
Yeah.
For them. So obviously, before we go into your heroes, just the last bit. Obviously, you touched on your artwork as well, which I've been looking through your Facebook, and you're constantly posting pieces of drawings that you've been doing. When has that been something you've done right throughout your life?
No, it's something I do. I mean, I was one of the only credible passes from school, equivalent. It was a CSE. I wasn't in GCSE era. I was the last of the CSEs grades, and that was like an O-level equivalent. My art was when I passed. So, but and then I got into the band. I want to do music instead. So, I was very lucky enough to get into the band, do that track. So that's makes it off now. And it's like 30 years later, I've decided I'm going to come back and start doing that again.
Right.
Start getting, yeah, really, because I found, I'm not going to make any money by sitting in my bedroom writing these songs for them to be played and may not even get onto an album. Oh, and even then, if it isn't going to sell, what's going to make me fucking money quickly? In times when I'm not gigging. Through the times when we stop gigging around November, and then we've got all the way until May when
Yeah.
I'm not going to go and get a 9 to 5. I want to, do something that get my mind active and do something that I feel I'm good at, and think I can make me to fill the gaps between playing, and also, yeah, it'd be like my pension, if you like.
Hmm.
It's just it's just keeping active and not turning into a vegetable, sitting on the couch, getting lazy, getting fat, drinking beers and watching loose women.
So what's have you got a website of that people can go to?
I've only got my one where I just dedicated to is on my Instagram.
Right.
It's E_P_Miller_arts. I
Uh-huh.
have to get that refined. That name is a bit of a mouthful. But Andy P Miller Art on Instagram as well. I just had my thing there, and I've been, I've not been so business minded. I'm trying to, yeah, I've always been trying to get it set up to Shopify or Etsy, where it's just print on demand or anything like that I've done. But it's just me just practicing and exercising in a sense, and doing the portraits of Keith Richards and stuff. But I want to, in a sense, politicize it a bit. So I'm in that zone at the moment, trying to look at ways of turning it and making something interesting. There's something a
Hmm.
bit more in depth with. I'm not just drawing a picture of Keith Richards, I'm not just drawing a picture of Hedy Lamar. I'm doing something. Uh, Currently drawing ladies with eyes closed, people with eyes closed,
Right.
and and making people think about what am I trying to say. I'm not telling you that I'm doing it like that, doing it in that way. Subtleties like that. I'm
Yeah.
trying to look, not just to draw just for the fact that I can draw. I
Hmm.
want to put something there. Like the music is. There's a meaning within it. Some of the
Yeah.
political things and
It's
stuff.
obviously it's created with it's for the viewer to kind of work out for themselves what they get for it.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, what I'll do with that, obviously, I'll tag you in all the stuff when I post the podcast, and I'll put all the links in there for people to get a hold of you and
Yeah,
check
I'll
your
send you a
artwork.
link to it. I'll send you a link to it.
Yeah.
For that.
But that's us towards the end of the podcast. Obviously, the last bit of it is I ask my guests to pick four heroes to come for dinner.
Mhm.
Why they're your heroes, and what would you cook them as well?
You'll cook them. Yeah, I thought I was going to cook for you. Okay, I've got cooking for them. Okay. Well, I suppose, first one came to mind. Brian Cox would be an interesting chap to have around for dinner.
Hmm.
He sounds fascinating. Something to blow the numbers he's going to use. Some
Uh-huh.
of the stuff we've even heard of are so fucking big about the universe and shit like that. It's an incredibly interesting subject, I find, and helps me with value. That we're spinning on a rock, flying through space at some velocity. And we've
Uh-huh.
all got to get along. It all comes down to that whole bloody insignificant some of these problems are, but we're facing that is quite existential.
Hmm.
Um,
It's funny you say Brian Cox. I thought about him the other night. Every time I see um, Alex James, because Blur they had a hang on BBC at the weekend for Blur, and every time I
yeah.
see Alex James, I get mixed up with him and Brian Cox.
It's
So
a little slightly same
yeah, so
places.
I was thinking about it at the weekend because of Alex James.
Well, I should have said it that way, you know. Well, I'll write him in brown thinner because he looks like Alex Jones. That's why. Why do you always look like Alex Jones? And how do you like your eggs? But yeah, he'd be an interesting one. Everyone, Jeremy Corbyn, I'd have him around. He's very interesting. He's a decent chap. I hate the shit it went and took to take him down. I mean, he's not completely faultless. I've probably tripped up a couple of times here and there.
Yeah, nobody
Um,
has though, are they?
you
You
know,
you look at the world and how the world's been the last 4 or 5 years and how different it could have been
could
if
have been, yeah,
see
yeah,
if we had Jeremy Corbyn in power and Bernie Sanders in America, but
yeah.
instead it went the other way and we get Trump and Boris Johnson and it just went to
Yeah, yeah.
shit, man.
It seems like that pendulum is swinging, and it doesn't seem to be swinging back anywhere.
No.
It's swinging further over. So say, I mean, American politics when they talk about liberals, they're actually talking about the centre right.
Hmm.
That's what they see as liberals. Your centre and centre right are liberals to your conservative landscape. It was your US landscape, political landscape. And now is sort of moving towards that as we look at with
Yeah.
Starmer's moving further to the right, centre right. And then when you get say a Labour government, which is kind of inevitable, well, it's hung. I'm looking. Hopefully, it'll be a bit of a hung parliament. So there's a huge voice on the left who's saying, you know, you ain't got, we know what you're doing, sort of thing. Hold them
Yeah.
to account, and you've got the people holding them to account. But you see that moving over to there, and then you see this void, and then when Labour get it wrong out of being neoliberal and centre left, and then they'll think, well, the left has failed. Well, the left isn't anything to do with that centre right part
Uh-huh.
condition of Labour, and so when that fails, you'll just get another thing further right going along, and I think that's what Murdoch and your right wing press really want. They just want the further destruction of middle class and working class people in the country, and this would
Yeah.
be an interesting talk I'd have with Jeremy.
Yeah,
You
he's
know.
a good guy. I mean, I had a lot of time for him, and it's just didn't. I mean, the media just were never going to let him.
No, never, never, no.
The stuff that they printed, the lies they came up with, is fucking it's
It,
despicable. But it's
it was
nothing that you
yeah.
wouldn't expect for the media.
Yeah, nothing we wouldn't expect. The Hillsborough disasters and the way the Sun treated the Liverpudlian people.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, that it's just there you go, and could never. I mean, I sat in a cafe today and there was a Sun on the table. Get away from me.
I
It's
don't.
like,
I
yeah,
really can't get it when I go to work. Obviously, I work night shift. I get into work the night. And you get into the canteen and there's newspapers, there's the Sun and the Daily Record, and you're like, who fucking reads them? Why would
I
you read
know.
them? What is there that's going to interest you in the papers?
Yeah, it's the breeding ground of that area, that dumbing down of society. It was in that paper and in
Yeah,
those cafes up and down the country. That's where that paper gets read, and it's depressing. These people, they're worse off under this thing. A problem due to this newspaper.
yeah,
They're fed in the shit and and shit in their minds, and then their living standards are worse off without realizing it. These poor people,
hmm,
give them dignity, give them reasonable ways, and they can lead dignified lives. That's a much better way. You can
yeah,
still have these cafes, but shouldn't be, selling this. I mean, it can't really be. Um, you could move into sort of a fascist mind by banning the newspaper, the Sun.
yeah. But
You
that's
can't.
the thing. We shouldn't need to ban them anyway. 'Cause people should
Yeah,
be educated enough to know that
yeah,
it's
mm,
fucking full of shit and there's no
yeah.
any point in buying them. It's
That's it.
2023 for fuck's sake, man.
It's right. We've gone back into the 1950s.
Mm.
Homophobia, racism, fucking xenophobic fucking attitudes that were around in the 60s, and now prevalent again.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's definitely a crumbling of societies. The columns that hold up societies, the principles are being undermined to a decent society, and it's appalling to watch. I mean, it is a battleground on comments, on the comments on, say, Instagram underneath. Yeah, your stop oil sites and everything, where people commenting it's all a freaking hoax and all this, and and I'm like, it's just like, it is hard, and I don't think COVID and the misinformation, all that helps, and conspiracies are something where this is the great propagator of the right wing is conspiracies.
Mm-hmm.
Through that, they can get their misinformation through, and it works very well. Works very well.
So,
okay, the next person I would put up, Oliver Reed.
Right.
Oliver Reed is a great actor. Again, a bit of a wild card. He's very similar to the final one as well, where Peter O'Toole, sort of wild boys of the acting stables, so fraternity, and they just, for me.
I hope you all enjoyed this episode of Time for Heroes podcast. If you would like to get in touch, the best way is on the Facebook page, Time for Heroes podcast, or on Instagram at Time for Heroes podcast, or Twitter at Time for Heroes P1, or drop me an email at timeforheroespod at gmail.com. You'll find Time for Heroes on all podcast platforms, including Spotify, Apple, Google and Amazon. Please leave a review where you can, share with others, and more importantly, enjoy.